Some games are loved for their deep, intricate stories, others for their action-packed gameplay or realistic simulation mechanics. But one game defines all these conventions: Tomodachi Life for the Nintendo 3DS. A life simulator that throws logic out the window and embraces pure, unapologetic nonsense. No story, no structure, no complex gameplay. Its simulation mechanics? Bare bones at best. Yet even after a decade, Tomodachi Life remains beloved, with fans eagerly waiting a sequel, one that, finally, is on the horizon. But how does a game that seemingly breaks every rule of traditional game design still manage to captivate so many players? Well, that's exactly what I want to find out. Let's take a deep dive into Tomodachi Life and uncover the secret behind its bizarre brilliance. Before we dive into the ridiculous world of Tomodachi Life, let's take a step back and talk about what this game actually is. Released in Japan in 2013 and worldwide in 2014 for the Nintendo 3DS, Tomodachi Life is a quirky life simulation game where your Miis move into an apartment complex on a tiny island and live out their completely unpredictable lives. But Tomodachi Life wasn't actually the first game in the series. It's a sequel to Tomodachi Collection, a Japanese exclusive DS title from 2009 that laid the groundwork for what would eventually become a worldwide phenomenon. Due to the localization issues, the first game never made it outside Japan, but when Tomodachi Life finally did, it brought the madness to a global audience, giving players an experience unlike anything else Nintendo had ever released. I was one of the many people who got to experience the wackiness of Tomodachi Life on my 3DS, and I loved it. I was pretty young at the time, so my concept of gaming wasn't fully developed, but I could tell this game was different. In most games, my inputs mattered, my skill determined how well I played, but here, the game practically played itself, and yet it wasn't just passive entertainment. Maybe it was the humor, or the way my real-life friends and family were suddenly part of these absurd, expressive scenes. All I know is that I enjoyed it then, and I still enjoy it now. Maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but this game remains one of the best that 3DS has to offer. At its core, Tomodachi Life is about watching chaos unfold. You don't control your Miis directly, you guide their lives, interact with them, and just see what happens. Friendships can form, relationships can fail, marriages can begin. You can start a band full of family members or do a solo act. It's all completely random, and that's what makes it special. Now that we understand the general gist of Tomodachi Life, let's break down its core mechanics and explore what makes this game so unusual. In video games, core gameplay mechanics are what define the experience, what makes a game truly unique. But Tomodachi Life's mechanics break away from traditional games and even others in its own genre. Take Super Mario Bros. For example. The precise movement, power-ups, and level progression are the mechanics that make it the classic platformer it is. A life simulation game like The Sims is built around character creation, managing individual Sims, customizing houses, and skill progression. But Tomodachi Life takes the foundation of life sims and twists it into something entirely different. Everything is simplified, automated, and stripped down, yet this simplicity is exactly what defines the game's identity. At its core, Tomodachi Life thrives on randomness, unpredictability, and humor. And there are 5 key gameplay mechanics that make this game the bizarre, unforgettable experience it is. Mii creation and the personality system, daily activities, relationships and social interactions, minigames and events, and the voice synthesized system. Let's break them down one by one. The first and most important mechanic is Mii creation. Not only is it one of the first things you do in the game, but it's also the foundation of all the chaos that unfolds later. After booting up the game, you're prompted to create or import Miis. Whether it's family, friends, celebrities, or fictional characters, Tomodachi Life gives you complete creative freedom. But it's not just about appearances. What truly shapes each Mii's behavior is the personality system. This system assigns every Mii one of 16 possible personality types based on 5 adjustable traits: movement, speech, expressiveness, attitude, and energy level. These traits influence everything from how Miis interact with each other to what activities they enjoy. For example, a Mii with the easygoing buddy personality tends to form relationships more easily, while an independent lone wolf might prefer to keep to themselves. And while these events in the game are random, who your Miis are determines how these events play out. Your choices in Mii creation essentially dictate the relationships, rivalries, and ridiculous moments that make each playthrough unique. Once your Miis move into their apartments, their daily lives are mostly out of your hands. Every so often they'll ask for something, maybe a specific meal, a new outfit, or advice on handling a personal issue. Completing these requests make your Miis happier and earns them XP, allowing them to level up. Some activities provide more XP than others. Giving a Mii their absolute favorite food could send them rocketing into space with joy, while giving them something they hate might make them melt into a puddle of disappointment. It's little details like this that make the game's repetitive nature feel fresh. And if a Mii's bored, you can play a minigame with them, which we'll get into later. But by far one of the strangest and most memorable aspects of Tomodachi Life is its dream sequences. At night, you can check in on sleeping Miis and witness some of the most bizarre, surreal moments in the game. Whether it's a Mii dreaming they've turned into a snail or a terrifying puppet show where their face is pasted on random objects. What's even weirder? After witnessing these fever dreams, you're rewarded with an item that represents the dream. Imagine watching your best friend transform into a snail with eerie music playing in the background, and then the game hands you an escargot as a present. Thanks to Nintendo. I totally wanted that. And the wildest part, even after hours of playing, I still feel like there's new dreams, proving just how much detail was put into this tiny yet absurd feature. If Mii creation is the foundation of the game, relationships are the heart of the chaos. Miis can become friends, get into fights, or fall in love. Miis often express a desire to befriend others, and as a player, you guide their approach. Should they be polite, act cool, or just be themselves? If it works, they'll gain a new friend, which leads to hangouts, gift exchanges, and hilarious conversations. But friendships aren't always permanent. Over time, Miis may drift apart, or even grow to dislike each other. Fights between Miis are inevitable. Sometimes the disputes are completely random. One Mii might be furious at another for no clear reason. As the overseer, you can step in to help them make up. But that doesn't always work. Some Miis hold grudges, making the game's social dynamics feel surprisingly deep for a game that thrives on nonsense. Romance is where things get really unpredictable. Miis can develop crushes, confess their feelings, and if all goes well, start dating. But just like real life, things don't always go smoothly. A heartfelt confession might end in an awkward rejection, and if a couple does manage to stay together, they may eventually get married and even have kids, who grow up and can either stay on the island or travel to other players' islands via Street Pass. It's a surprisingly deep system considering how absurd everything else is in the game. One of the most unintentionally dramatic aspects of Tomodachi Life is the potential for love triangles. A Mii might confess their feelings to someone who's already in a relationship, leading to some of the most awkward and heartbreaking moments in the game. Watching these scenarios play out is very hilarious, but it's also weird because these compelling situations are played down by the robot-voiced Miis. Beyond daily life, Tomodachi Life offers a variety of minigames and events, adding extra layers of entertainment. Miis might invite you to participate in quizzes that test your knowledge of Islanders' inhabitants or general trivia. Winning rewards you with items or currency, making these a fun distraction. One of the most beloved activities in the game is the rap battle events. Each night, Miis go head-to-head in the most nonsensical rhyming duels imaginable. The best part? You have no control over the lyrics, meaning the game generates some of the weirdest and most hilarious bars you'll ever hear. Occasionally, you can embark on an arcade-style Mii RPG called Tamagotchi Quest. It's a very wacky, low-effort RPG game, but it's very fun, because in the end, you can either find treasure or meet an unfortunate fate of gaming over. Throughout the day, various island locations host unique events. The cafe might feature open mic comedy nights, the park could hold flea markets, and the beach may have fireworks shows. These events provide fresh interactions and keep the islands feeling alive. Sometimes when you're visiting the apartments, a Mii might be not at their apartment, and they may be at one of these random locations on the island. And you can pop in and see them either playing frisbee with a dog or batting at the batting cages. One of Tomodachi Life's most iconic features is its voice sensitization system. Every Mii has a fully customizable voice, adding an extra layer of weirdness to their already absurd personalities. When creating a Mii, you can tweak their voice's pitch, tone, and speed. This means you can create a voice that sounds somewhat normal or completely inhuman. The voice customization allows for some of the funniest moments in the game. Making a Mii's pitch extremely high while setting their speed to the lowest setting results in a nightmarish voice that sounds squeaky but unsettlingly drawn out. These bizarre voices make every conversation, argument, and confession even funnier. And that's the beauty of Tomodachi Life. Even the most basic features like adjusting a character's voice can attribute to the game's chaotic and unforgettable charm. If there's one thing that sets Tomodachi Life apart from other life simulation games, it's how strange it is. Where most games in the genre aim for realism or wholesome charm, Tomodachi Life exists in a world of robotic voices, nonsensical interactions, and moments that feel like a fever dream. It's not just funny, it's absurd in a way that feels like it's never meant to be this way, yet somehow that's what makes it perfect. Most games give players some sort of level of control over their character's behavior. In Tomodachi Life, you can influence your Miis, but ultimately their actions are dictated by some unknowable force that feels just slightly broken. Miis might say something heartfelt and inspiring only for the text-to-speech voice to completely kill the mood. Sometimes a Mii just will stare at the screen, unmoving, as if they know something you don't. The combination of robotic voices and stiff, pre-render animations creates an accidental comedic masterpiece, where every interaction feels like it was written by an AI trying and failing to simulate human emotions. Most simulation games have cutscenes that make sense in context. Tomodachi Life takes a different approach, throwing in completely random scenarios with no explanation. 1 second, your Mii's in their apartment, but then whenever you look at the news, you see a dramatic scene of your Mii reporting on an orange rolling down the street. You could be in the middle of a normal day, and then the game randomly decides that it's time for a rap battle between two Mii's, where they exchange terrible rhymes in their deadpan robotic voices. At any moment, you might walk into an apartment and find a Mii worshipping a slice of bread or just standing there doing nothing for an uncomfortable amount of time. There's no logic to these moments, and that's what makes them so funny. They don't happen because you do something specific, they just happen, like the game itself is generating its own inside jokes. Dreams in Tomodachi Life don't follow a structure. They don't hint at deep emotions, nor do they serve any clear purpose. Instead, they feel like a glitch in reality. A Mii could dream about an army of identical Mii's marching in unison, all chanting the same phrase in their robotic voices. You might witness a floating disembodied head spinning in the space while whispering nonsense. Or even weirder, the game might just suddenly present you with a Mii being dipped in a different colored paint as if that's something that you are supposed to expect. And then the dream ends, no comment, no reaction, just back to normal, as if the dream wasn't straight out of an experimental horror film. The text-to-speech voices are the defining aspect of Tomodachi's humor. They turn every single conversation into something unintentionally hilarious. A Mii could propose to their longtime partner in a completely monotone, robotic voice, making an emotional moment feel so strange. Mii's will dramatically argue over something simple, but instead of sounding angry, they sound like they can barely function. Even the simplest things, like a Mii saying, "I had a nice day," sound deeply unnatural. And then of course, there's the singing. The game allows you to make Mii's perform musical numbers, but because of the robotic voices, every song turns into an unsettling, off-key disaster. A major aspect to the humor and weirdness of Tomodachi Life is the unexpected relationship drama. Even though Mii's are just simple avatars, their emotions and interactions create chaos that keeps players hooked. Tomodachi Life doesn't just let Mii's fall in love, it lets them get tangled into full-blown love triangles. A Mii might confess their feelings to another Mii, only for someone else to interrupt and confess their love too. The result, a high-stakes decision where one Mii walks away happy and the other walks away in heartbreak. And just like in real life, love isn't always predictable. A Mii might confess to somebody completely unexpected, leading to a hilarious and sometimes frustrating moments. Sometimes the most bizarre couples end up getting married. The game has no problem pairing together the weirdest combination of Mii's, leading to moments where you're left wondering, how did this even happen? And when a Mii proposes, the game turns into a whole event where you as the player have to help them pop the question. But if you mess up, rejection, pure heartbreak. You'll see a Mii go from cloud 9 to absolute devastation in seconds. Not every relationship lasts though. Mii's can break up, leading to sad, over-the-top rejections. They'll sit in their apartment skulking while dramatic music plays. Sometimes they'll ask you for advice on whether to stay together or break things off, leaving you with the ultimate power over their romantic fate. One of the biggest parts of Tomodachi Life is its soundtrack. The music in Tomodachi Life does more than just fill the background. It actively shapes the player's experience, reacting to each bizarre or touching moment with the perfect soundscape. The soundtrack is an unsung hero, adding layers of personality and emotion to the game that wouldn't be possible through visuals and text alone. It creates an immersive and dynamic atmosphere that helps bring the world of Tomodachi Life to life, making every moment, whether hilarious or touching, even more impactful. One of the most striking aspects of Tomodachi Life's soundtrack is how every location has a distinct musical identity that enhances the player's experience. The apartment is where most players spend most of their time checking in on their Mii's, and it features a calm, relaxing tune that gives a cozy, homey feel. It doesn't overwhelm the player, but instead provides a gentle ambience that makes interacting with Mii's a soothing experience. Then there's the cafe, which provides a completely different atmosphere with its smooth jazz soundtrack. It transforms simple conversations between Miis into something that feels intimate and engaging, as though every chat could be an important heart-to-heart. The park and beach themes bring in a sense of peacefulness and relaxation, making these locations feel like the perfect spots to unwind. On the flip side, locations like the amusement park and concert hall bring high-energy, fun-filled themes that perfectly match their purposes. One for exciting attractions and the other for custom, often hilarious music performances. Even seemingly minor areas like the pawn shop or the interiors of Mii's apartments have subtle but effective background themes that contribute to the overall feel of the game. Every musical choice in Tomodachi Life is deliberate, reinforcing the setting and tone of each location to make the game world feel alive and full of personality. One of Tomodachi Life's strongest aspects is its humor, and the soundtrack plays a massive role in that. The game thrives on randomness and absurdity, and the music accentuates this by shifting to match the tone of any given situation, often in hilariously exaggerated ways. For example, when a Mii is feeling down, the music shifts to a comedically melancholic tune, making their sadness feel overly dramatic and in the best way possible. If a Mii is angry, the music swells with a level of tension, turning minor conflicts into what feels like a high-stakes drama. When two Miis get into a fight, intense argument theme kicks in, making their simple disagreements feel like so much more. The game also plays with musical irony, using overly serious or intense music to highlight just how ridiculous these situations are. This contrast is what makes Tomodachi Life's humor work so well. The game knows not to take itself seriously, and the soundtrack reflects that perfectly. Now, while Tomodachi Life is known for its humor, it also has moments of surprising emotional depth, and the music plays a crucial role in enforcing this. When a Mii confesses their love to another, the background music shifts to a nervous, almost heart-pounding tune, capturing the moment of tension. If they're rejected, the music changes again to a somber, melancholic theme, making the heartbreak feel surprisingly real. Even smaller moments like Mii's reminiscing about past events or showing appreciation for their friendships are elevated by the game's use of warm, sentimental music. These moments might be brief, but they add an unexpected layer of heart to Tomodachi Life, proving that the soundtrack isn't just about comedy, it's about creating an emotional range that makes the game feel more dynamic and immersive. The soundtrack helps create a lasting impact on players, helping make Tomodachi Life one of the games that players feel nostalgic about years later. The music is a core part of that nostalgia, acting as an auditory time machine that brings people back to their favorite moments in the game. One of the most interesting aspects of Tomodachi Life is how it was adapted for different regions. While the core gameplay remained the same, there were notable differences between Japanese and Western audiences. Originally released as Tomodachi Collection New Life in Japan, the game had some cultural elements that were changed or adjusted for Western audiences. Some notable elements were the food items, the voice synthesization changes, and the regional holidays and references. The Japanese version featured traditional foods like natto and onigiri, while the Western versions replaced them with items like cheeseburgers and spaghetti to appeal to a broader audience. The text-to-speech voice software used for Mii's was adjusted in different regions to match vocal languages. The Japanese version had smoother, more natural-sounding robotic voices, while the English version had a more exaggerated, funny-sounding effect that added to the game's charm. Some Japan-specific holidays and references were swapped out for more universal or Western-friendly alternatives. The humor and writing in Tomodachi Life were heavily adjusted in the Western versions to make the game's dialogue and events funnier for an international audience. Some Japanese jokes or cultural references were rewritten to be more relatable for Western players. The English version leaned into absurd humor, sometimes exaggerating the awkwardness of Mii interactions to make them even funnier. Despite the changes, the game retained its signature weirdness, making it just as entertaining across different regions. Tomodachi Life was a massive hit, selling over 6 million copies worldwide. It became one of the best-selling games on the Nintendo 3DS, proving that there was a strong demand for casual life simulation games beyond Animal Crossing. Despite its success, Tomodachi Life never received a direct sequel on the Nintendo Switch for over a decade. The Switch kind of moved away from Mii's as a major system feature, unlike the Wii and 3DS, making a Mii-centric game less of a priority. Even though fans have been asking for Tomodachi Life for over a decade plus, Nintendo remained silent, making it one of the most highly and requested ports or sequels. Thankfully, Tomodachi Life 2 has finally been announced for 2026. After over a decade, Tomodachi Life is finally making its return. After years of waiting, Nintendo has finally revealed the long-anticipated sequel, Tomodachi Life: Living the Dream. While we only got about a minute of actual footage, there's already a lot to be excited about. First off, the game's visuals have the same quirky charm as the original. The Mii still have their signature awkward yet endearing animations, and the bizarre interactions that made the 3DS version so memorable. From what we've seen, it's clear that Nintendo is sticking to the heart of what made Tomodachi Life so special. One of the best surprises, the voice system appears unchanged. That robotic, slightly offbeat text-to-speech style is back, keeping the nostalgic charm intact. Dream sequences are also returning, meaning we can expect more of the absurd, unpredictable moments that made the original so fun to play. One of the biggest things that stood out to me was the character customization. Since Switch launched, Miis haven't had much of a presence in the new games, aside from Miitopia, which introduced makeup in wigs. Now, based on the trailer, it looks like Nintendo is expanding customization even further. The Miis seem to have far more detail and variety than ever before. Nintendo has clearly made some changes, but that's to be expected with any sequel. Whether those changes are major or minor, one thing is certain: I'm excited to see what Tomodachi Life: Living the Dream has in store. It's been a long wait, but from what we've seen so far, it looks like it'll be worth it.